Welcome back to another thrilling edition of 42nd Street Pete's Grindhouse, Grindhouse whatever. And today is another edition of Monster Kids. And in 1958, Boots comes to visit me because she can get into the camera here. In 1958, there was a movie out with Steve McQueen called The Blob. A year later, an Italian version sort of came out, called Caltiki, the Immortal Monster in 1959. And even though it was Americanized for Allied artists with the credits, it was actually the first film directed by Mario Bava, because Ricardo Freda saw potential in the young Mario and stepped aside and let him direct Caltiki. And it sort of has all the trademarks that would follow Bava. The great angles that were shot, the use of a black and white, light and darkness, whatever. But anyway, this takes place in Mexico. And we see this guy staggering through the ruins, muttering about something about his friend. And he gets back to the archaeological dig, and he keeps yelling something about the mummy and this and that and the other thing. And they find this camera. Actually, they go to the cavern and they look around, and they find a camera that was obviously dropped, an 8mm camera. And they take it to go have the thing developed, and they miss the desiccated skeleton of the guy named Elmer. So as they're showing this thing, they show a bunch of stuff, and all of a sudden it's obviously they're attacked by something, the camera is juggling, then the camera is dropped. So they figure that poor Elmer is at the bottom of this lake that's in the cavern. So they go in, this team, one guy's named Bob, he's a diver. And Bob goes down to the bottom of this lake, and he finds a bunch of human remains, skulls and bones, but a lot of gold and jewels. And he comes up with it. And then what he does is he has to go down for more. So while he's down for more, all of a sudden you see this look through his diver's mask of sheer terror, and then something happens where the rope goes completely taut. And they're pulling this poor bastard up, and when they get him up, they pull off the diving mask, and he's still breathing, but he has no flesh on him at all, just his eyeballs hanging out of his skull, and a gory mess. Then this thing comes up out of the lake, this blob-like creature. And of course, the sack of jewels is dropped, and one of the guys named Max, played by Gerard Herder, who actually would become a fixture in spaghetti westerns after this, goes to get it, and his arm is engulfed by the creature. The other scientist, the head scientist, hacks it off. So they get out of there with Max's arm covered with this blob-like substance, and then the head scientist drives a gasoline truck into the cave, blowing it up and incinerating the creature, or so they think. So they take poor Max to the hospital, where they basically lay his arm out and peel the blob off. Now he has a complete skeletal arm, which they don't do anything with. He keeps it. So Max sort of loses his mind because he has the hots for the doctor's wife, even though he has a hot girlfriend named Linda, a maid. So they're examining this whole thing, and they figure this is part of a Mayan god who mates with a comet, and the comet is due to show up. And also the creature is highly radioactive. So there's a piece of the creature in the hospital, and there's also a piece of the creature in the doctor's house. Max becomes more unhinged and leaves, killing a nurse. And then his girlfriend hides him out. Like I said, though, he's still smitten with the doctor's wife. So this comet does show up, and it's sort of, something happens where they activate the one in the hospital, and it gets out and obviously kills somebody, and they burn it. But now the comet's coming back to Earth. And of course it wakes up the one in the house, which starts to morph and grow and separate in some really disgusting fucking scenes. Well, Max shows up with a gun, wanting to kill the doctor and take his wife, and Linda's trying to talk him out of it, when he winds up shooting Linda as this creature crashes through the doors and engulfs him. And it sucks him down, and then after it sucks him down, it spits out his bloody skull and bones. Now the wife and kids are running upstairs trying to hide, while the doctor's trying to convince the army what's going on, and there's tons of like little Caltiki blobbies all through the garden and stuff like that, and they have obviously toy tanks and flamethrowers burning these things up and ensuring that Caltiki is burnt to a crisp. Well, it's a lot gorier than the blob, because the blob showed people engulfed in that, pinkish jello substance and then disappearing. This thing just spits out raw blood and bones. And here's the segue. I saw this. Now, I don't know if anybody's from New England, Massachusetts in general, but I used to get sent up there every summer. I guess it had to be late 50s, early 60s, so my mother could get rid of me, and I'd stay with my godmother and, go out and catch frogs and shit like that. I don't fucking know. But then we watched this thing. This was some kind of horror host showcase because they had some kind of puppet and they had a fake Caltiki in a tank they kept calling Caltiki. But the point is, should kids have seen any of this shit? Or should kids have seen Attack of the Giant Leeches? Probably not. But like I said, nobody was watching what we was watching. And that was a little weird, little slice of life thing there because for whatever reason, Caltiki sort of got regulated, I don't know where, it never came out again, but thanks to Arrow Video, it's out in both the Italian and English versions. So definitely worth checking out. So that's our show for today. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back Wednesday with some real weird cinema. So until then, stay safe and we'll catch you on the flip side.